Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell, for another Elite 11 Team Reveal video. We've got Mark back on the channel. He's continuing his excellent start to the season as per usual, and this week we're also looking at the game week stats from game weeks 1 through 4, as well as looking ahead to game week 5 to see how Mark is thinking of setting up his team moving into game week 5. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. Guys, welcome back to the channel for another game week preview. And Mark, welcome back, man. How's your season been going? Can see upward trajectory as normal. Things going well?
Hey Tom, how are you? Yeah, things are going good. This is a season start like I've never had before.
Okay.
3 green arrows in a row. Unprecedented, I'd say.
Okay.
Let's see how long we can keep doing it.
Definitely. We're going to say that these videos are a portent to green arrows. Then let's get that in the marketing slogan. I'm intrigued though, Mark. So this is a great start for you as a looking historically as well. Then I would have thought this is just par for the course. So being around about 120k after 4 game weeks, this is what we're saying. This is one of the best that you've had.
Yeah, it'd be a bit unusual for me to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned in a previous video that like my season trajectory seems to be pretty similar. Game week 1 always seems to be good. Maybe game week 2 is good, and I usually start trailing backwards, and then I hold on for as long as I can to play the wild card. So I'm kind of having slightly different thoughts this season. I'm thinking that there's a good wild card week coming up, maybe, and if I can get to game week 6 and then it being a good rank, maybe to wild card from a good position would be unusual for me. I usually seem to wait till I get in trouble and then use it. But maybe if I can be a little bit more proactive this time, I can preserve the rank and not just fritter it away over time.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that plays out. And when we had Andrew on last week, he was anticipating managers, a glut of managers using the wild card in game week 6. So that seems to make sense. Got to ask you, Mark, around about 120k, as I say, right now. What's the season aspiration looking like right now? Has it changed because of this strong start, or is it pretty much the same as it was at the beginning of the campaign?
No, I don't think it matters too much to be at 120,000 at this stage, to be honest. I think if you're 500, 600,000 now, I think you've more or less still got a great chance of a top 10,000, and it's very easy for me to mess this up from here. It's a small fraction of the season gone. I don't think it's time to be getting too excited or anything like that. No. So, yeah, I'd be delighted to get top 10,000 for a while. So that's going to be that remains the ambition.
That remains the ambition, and that is going to be what you're going to achieve, and we're going to watch it happen over the course of this season, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Mark, we're actually not going to look back on game week 4 points actually today. We're going to look straight ahead to game week 5 and do your team reveal in a moment. But just in terms of how game week 4 played out, was there anything that leapt out to you as a massive concern ahead of game week 5, or were you pretty happy to roll your way through and just see how things lay as we move into game week 5 after these Carabao Cup games and Champions League games play out? Is your team looking strong?
Yeah, it was kind of a mixed week in terms of what it meant for my squad moving forward. So, for example, I was fully sure that Vardiol would start on Saturday, and he didn't. He got half the game, so that's a concern. I'm not sure whether the substitution was just pre-planned for half time, and it was Guardiola's way of managing minutes for 2 players. We always assume that a manager's going to start and start players, or give them 20 minutes at the end of the game and that's their rest. But maybe Guardiola thinks I'll just give 2 players 45. So I think Vardiol is on his way out pretty soon.
Okay.
Harwood Bellis, I was kind of thinking that he would lose his place because he came off early in week 3. But then Stevens got a red card, so he's back. He's got a stay of execution, but like he's still rubbish. And further up the pitch, I'm getting concerned about Jota, even though he's playing tonight and Liverpool are winning. I'm not feeling good about him.
No, I understand that, man. All right, cool. Well, in that case, let's look forward rather than looking back. All of those ones make sense. Let's take a look at how you're thinking of setting up ahead of game week 5. Okay, so we're going to do this piecemeal, Mark, and just reveal these through the different positions. So in goal, you've opted to stay for Raya. Obviously, I was going to say a tough fixture, probably the toughest fixture in the league away at Man City. You've got to be so pleased with Raya's start to the season, and that route into the Arsenal defence looks like the pick of all goalkeepers, right, Mark?
Yeah, he's easily my player of the season.
Yeah.
Given the amount of points he scored and
Mm-hmm.
like his ownership is pretty low.
Yeah.
He's looking like a season keeper for me at the moment. I
Yeah.
don't, no pun intended, but I don't see why I'd change him.
No.
Um, it's
Can I
it's
can I ask Mark just on him? Do you think he's the best route to the Arsenal defence, or would you prefer to have an outfield player maybe as a complement to him, or instead of, or is Raya just with 5.5 or maybe up depending on when you guys are watching this video? Is he just the best route into that miserly Arsenal defence?
I think he is. First of all, he's a little bit cheaper than everyone else. Secondly, he's nailed.
Yep.
White is a little bit too expensive.
Hmm.
Saliba, he, I think Saliba is a good pick, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of alternatives in defense when there aren't alternatives in goal, as we can see. Gabriel is obviously going to be popular this week, but I was just thinking about it today, and I remember last season he got rested at home to Sheffield United, and it was a proper rest. And game week 6, he's got Leicester at home. And if Calafiori was coming near fitness, maybe that's a good day to give him a first outing. I don't know what the status of his fitness is.
Mm-hmm.
And Timber looks great.
Mm.
But I don't know, how much he can play. So yeah, I think to go back to your question, for me, Raya being my wild card, and I'm happy to spend the
Yeah.
extra million over the likes of Henderson and so on. Raya got more on Sunday than Henderson's got all season.
Yeah. Good point.
It's
He's,
pretty
and it's been
stark.
been a bit consistent. Nice
Mm.
pickups, hasn't there, over the first few game weeks? So it looks like a great pick on wildcard or not, like that, of course. Looking forward into the defence then, Mark. You've got Pedro Porro there, despite the mockery being made of Postecoglou right now and Spurs' returns in the league. He remains an FPL pick that's of interest. So I want to get your thoughts around him. You've just mentioned Harwood Ballas as well, so you can talk around his prospects in the home game against Ipswich and him being preferred
Mm.
over Gvardiol. And of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold, lots of money on him as well. So talk to me around your thoughts around this back three, Mark. Is anyone giving you concern, or are you pretty happy with how the defence is set up right now?
No, I'm not too happy with my defense overall. I think it's fine for this week. I probably will end up with Vardiol in the team, especially
Mm-hmm.
given how Arsenal approached the North London derby. I don't think they're going to be too ambitious against City. Harwood Bellis is in there. He's just scored tonight. It's Tuesday night. The League Cup is on, and he scored from a Charlie Taylor assist of all people.
Beautiful.
Um, but Southampton are so bad that I'd probably swap Vardiol back in. But it's a nice option to have. I mean, it makes me not too worried if one of the three main guys doesn't line out. At least I
This is
got
it.
Harwood Bellis there to come in and possibly score a goal or two, even.
Yeah.
I won't
Do
rule
you
it out.
think you've mentioned Southampton being pretty wretched a couple of times already, Mark? Do you think they were getting into already targeting them if you've got players, playing Southampton offensive players primarily, scoring lots of goals against them, or them
Yeah.
not scoring, or a bit of both? Are we already into that territory after 4 game weeks?
Well, he's not in my squad now, but I had Brian Mbeumo for week 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I brought him in for 1 week just to target Southampton,
Okay.
because they're wretched. The 2 goals that he scored were mistakes from Southampton
Gifts,
defense.
weren't they?
So
Gosh, yeah, gifts. Yeah.
yeah, I think you are targeting Southampton, and maybe we'll get around to it later on. But some of my plans this week could involve maybe getting an Ipswich forward.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
just not really based on the Ipswich forward per se, but more based on the Southampton defense being as bad as it looks like it is. It's a case where they're trying to do something maybe they're not capable of
Yeah.
doing in this league.
Yeah, agree. They're playing out from the back and they remain
Mhm.
resolute about doing so, don't they? The manager's been insistent
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
it's not the wisest. It's you mentioned Postecoglou getting mocked a bit, like whether that's justifiable or not. One thing about him is he doesn't seem too adaptable in his approach, and maybe Russell Martin is similar.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Um,
So
you know,
Postecoglou's dogmatism, etc. Mark, Pedro Porro, not the cheapest of FPL options. You still comfortable holding him, or is he going to be? I mean, maybe not so a question for Game Week 5, but longer term, what are his prospects in the Mark Mansfield team?
I think his prospects are good. I mean, he's in a very unusual position on the pitch. No other fullbacks go where he goes. He plays a lot of the time as an 8. He gets into the box late, so he's just one of these guys. You can play him anytime. You don't know what's going to happen. And there's not a lot of standout defenders,
No,
really, is
not.
there? So if you want to, hold 5.5 million in a position like that in your defense, I think he's as good as it gets, really.
Okay.
So I'm happy to keep him. I'm happy to play him any week. I played him last week. Yeah, I'm really happy to have him against Brentford this week at home.
Yeah, makes sense.
He can do something.
Of course he can. Yeah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously a lot of money being invested there, and the I guess surprising home defeat against Nottingham Forest, which will have pissed off, I think, obviously a lot of owners in FPL. What do we make of Liverpool now? They started the 3 consecutive wins. They now had this upset now. We worried? Is that just a blip? What's your read on Liverpool, Mark? And maybe if I do the team reveal, the midfield reveal now, this might allow you to give some additional context as well.
Yeah, like in terms of a read on them, the first game against Ipswich, I don't think you learned too much. The second game against Brentford is a good win, but Brentford don't play a low block away. We saw on Saturday they went at it against City. And then United just didn't do some pretty basic things well, as we all know. So the first time that they've come up against a competent low block that doesn't give them a lot of space in behind, they fell over that hurdle. So I think the jury is out in terms of their defense. Because I don't think we can now say they're a good defense just because they kept those 3 clean sheets. And I think the jury's out in terms of their attack. Just because maybe there was a little bit of creativity missing on Saturday. Someone to unlock something. Salah didn't play well.
No.
I've had an eye on the Milan game here. He's quite involved. He's hit the crossbar twice. He's had a shot. So he's looking a little bit sharper today, but he's been given space. I don't think Bournemouth will be as tight as Forest were.
No.
So, like, the jury's out. I don't know a lot about Slot.
No.
But I'm not convinced yet that they're as good as, there was a bit of a soft soaping going on for the first 3 weeks from the media and so on. So, yeah, very much. It's one of the things that makes you hesitant about a wild card too early. Not sure what Liverpool are yet.
No.
Jota's playing up front. A bit uneasy about having him on Saturday. I hope we get a leak, because he does something I think that other players in the Liverpool team can't do. So maybe he'll hold his place for that reason. But he's missed a few chances. He's missed one tonight. I'm a bit worried about his starting place on Saturday, and then he'll be out if I play a wild card in Game Week 6, he'll be out.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess the Jota observations you're making there are not really new news in terms of him as an FPL option, are they? I think if you assure him minutes, he becomes an even more favourable option. But we've never kind of had that assurance, have we? Interesting observations on Liverpool there, Mark. If we look across the rest of the midfield, I want to start with Rodgers there. I've seen Fantasy Football Fix put out some social media posts around the stats that he's accrued through game weeks 1 through 4. Having watched the game on the weekend as well, are we just inevitably going to pick up points from this geezer at some point? Like, what's going on, Mark? Assure me it's safe to keep him and it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's safe to keep him at 5 million. I mean, like, what are you expecting here from a guy that costs $500,000 more than a 4.5 million midfielder?
I
obviously,
think I'm expecting more, but that's probably just complete
I
arrogance from me.
more.
Yeah. Hoping.
Yeah, I mean, he passes the eye.
He does, doesn't he?
I mean, there's no doubt about that. He really is a good footballer. And if he keeps his place, the returns will come. So he's not on the chopping block, but I do have a strong front 8, so I've been putting him in and out of the team. I think I left him out in week 1 and he's played every other week.
I see.
But like, there's a bit of a theme here. I'm doing quite well, but I'm still feeling a bit shortchanged on Trent, Jota, and Rogers' returns.
Yeah,
And then Eze missing the penalty, not taking the penalty at the
that's right.
weekend. Like things could be going better here. And I know everyone can say this about
For
their team,
sure. No, you're
but
right.
I kind of feel like Salah's really maximized his
Mm,
returns. I'm not sure he deserved is a bad word. He got them, but I think his points against United came very easy.
yeah.
Whereas Trent should have a lot more points. I think Jota should have more, and Rogers certainly should have more.
And Eze, right, as well. Goal ruled out harshly as well. And gosh, he played well in the opening
Yeah,
games, didn't he? He
well, I
was.
didn't have him then, so I
Oh,
was
okay.
pretty pleased
Fair
about
enough.
that.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Glasner came out at the weekend and said after the event, he said, "Yeah, we've got two penalty takers," which is what you would say if you're trying to, ameliorate a situation that had arisen.
No
Like, what
kidding.
else is he going to say?
Yeah, no kidding. It didn't. It
Um,
didn't look a particularly sort of acrimonious situation, did it there on the weekend? But
yeah,
yeah,
he was just bullied off it. It looks
indeed
like.
he was. Yeah, we'll see whether or not that happens in the next game. Okay, cool. And in terms of Smith Rowe there as well, another budget option there. Mark, someone who your expectations, I guess, are tempered slightly as a consequence of that, and still pretty happy with him.
Yeah, he's not getting much fanfare, is
No,
he?
he's
I mean, he's
not.
got 22
Yeah.
points. Everyone's been talking about Rogers, Minte, Semenyo. Okay, Semenyo's done well, but I'm not really sure why Smith Rowe hasn't got any of these big
Mm,
bandwagons because he's done well. He's got a 10-pointer, he's got a 7-pointer.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to have him, but I will probably sell him. But I'm happy I got him at the start.
Absolutely. So you should be. And then looking forward into this front line then, Mark, of Haaland, the absent João Pedro in game week 4. Look at that with the armband as well. And Isak hooked at half time or certainly missing majority of the game on the weekend, disappointing a lot of owners. Let's talk through this front three.
Yeah.
Mark, what's your read on the forward situations in FPL right now?
Well, I think Haaland's good.
Thank
Uh,
you for that. Yeah, that's why
so
you
I'll
get
move
the
on
big
there.
bucks. Yeah.
Um, Isak is it's just been quite unlucky with Isak.
Mm,
I think it could be a whole different story if Shard didn't get sent off in week 1.
yeah.
And then he gets the ball in the head and he goes off. I've had a feeling for years now that Isak is just a bit soft. I wasn't surprised he went off. I didn't think he was going to soldier on.
No.
But I have got hit in the head with the ball before and got concussed. I remember one time the grass turned blue.
Okay.
So I can sympathize with him to a degree, but I do think he's a bit soft for going off there.
Yeah.
And then Joe Pedro's got the captain's armband, and that really points towards my problem this week. And it's a problem where I think there's a very obvious solution, and it's a Salah captaincy.
Okay.
So I don't have a captain, and that's really why it's Joe Pedro at the moment.
Yeah. Well, just before we talk around transfer plans and the Mo Salah suggestion there, Mark, the João Pedro captaincy there, I was going to quiz you on there because I'm pretty impressed by Forest defensively. I thought they ended the season well defensively, and they've started this season well defensively, as we've seen in the stats slide next as well. In terms of Forest as an option defensively, do you think we're sleeping on them as a budget-friendly team as well, Mark? I've not seen much personnel in anyone's team in terms of Forest as well.
Yeah, you've really caught my cabbage there because I was going to comment on that later on. Forest were third in the expected goals against statistic after 3 games, which, okay, yeah, whatever, small sample size. And you think, okay, they're third now. They're going to Anfield. Where will they be afterwards? They're still third. So yeah, there could be people I think who go into this weekend with Welbeck and Pedro. I'm not sure I'd fancy it. And this is I don't think I can captain Pedro at home to Forest because of his minutes out and because Forest are good. So it's a question I have to answer. Who else do you captain there? Yeah, you can always captain Haaland. If Isak's a doubt, I think Jota is a starting doubt. Rogers, maybe I'm running out of options here for captaincy. I don't have a good one. I don't think.
Haaland's always a good captain choice, Mark. Right, as you so astutely observed, he's not a bad player, is he? So
he is good. Yeah. You're right about that. He's good.
All right, let's talk around these. So you've got 2 free transfers, Mark. Obviously, no prospect of wildcarding into game week 5 here, but what are your transfer plans then, mate? What are you looking at? How are you going to accommodate Mo Salah in this team? What's the plan?
I'm gonna do, I think, what everyone else did last week and ship Saka and Isak most likely, to get Salah and a cheap forward.
Mm-hmm.
And all the great alternative thinkers of FPL have alternatively came up with the same idea, and that's Jamie Vardy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've made a short list of people who could come in. I've got, I think, 5.8 to spend there, and it's a pretty grim watch list.
A
It's got,
murderer's row. Yeah.
yeah, it's got Danny Welbeck.
Mm.
I don't want to get him for the reasons I mentioned.
No.
It's got Vardy. He's old, but he scored a Jamie Vardy goal at the weekend, so like he's all right.
Yeah.
There's Strand Larson. He looks all right, but it's Villa, so no.
Yeah.
Um, Raul Jimenez. He's not playing tonight. I He's my second favorite right now.
Mm.
He gets sneaky points.
He does.
Jimenez.
Yeah, it's
So
well put. Let's talk about
yeah,
Vardy quickly. I mean, we spent some considerable time slagging off Southampton earlier on in the video. So, yeah, I just wonder whether or not is there Ipswich, are they a attacking option here as well? Mark, do you think is that a prospect that you're enamoured with?
yeah. The final name on my list is Delap.
Mm-hmm.
Delap went off early last week, and his numbers don't really add up.
No.
I think we all remember he banged one in against Fulham, and it was spectacular, and that's going to stick in people's minds.
Yeah.
But his numbers just don't add up in relation to what Vardy can do, I think.
No. Fair enough.
Vardy's getting the minutes as well. Surprisingly, probably for most people.
I love it. It's 2024, and one of our elite managers is talking about bringing in Jamie Vardy into their FPL team.
It's going to be the bandwagon this week,
of course
believe it or not.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely, we'll see that. It'll be a party being had all over the place. All right, mate, that's cool. Now, we mentioned it earlier on, guys, in the video that we're going to start looking at statistics on a rolling basis on these videos. So let's take a look at game weeks 1 through 4 stats and how they're playing out so far. Okay, guys, so what we've got here, we've just pulled out 6 key metrics, and the idea here is that these will be rolling 4-week averages. Obviously, we're only in game week 5, so happily we've only had 4 game weeks worth of data thus far, and we've included a little caveat there, or filter restriction, to make sure that we exclude players who've not yet played 180 minutes. So Danny Ings, unluckily, will not feature on this video beyond that mention that I've just made of him. So Mark, let's start with the team metric there, the expected goals conceded, in the bottom right-hand corner there. You mentioned Forest there. Do we like Fulham as well, potentially, as a defensive avenue for budget-friendly options? Or are we saying that, it's down to Liverpool, Spurs and Man City, and you're going to have to spend big money if you want to get those miserly defences? And I guess Arsenal will inevitably end up in there in due course too. What's your read on the defensive look in FPL so far?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it too deeply yet for the wild card. On Fulham, I think it's a mixed one for Robinson owners because they've had 2 late concessions, but they've also got 2 assists, which are a bit unpredictable. I think the pick there might be Anderson at 4.4.
Okay.
And he's going to improve the Fulham defense. I'm not surprised he's come out of the Palace defense and it's got worse.
Yeah, good point.
At Forest, I think we'll all be talking about Alex Moreno if he keeps starting.
Yeah.
And I also think Ian is fine.
So forgive the ignorance. Is Moreno the boy who plays left back for Forest? So he was the one who did such a good number on Salah on the weekend, yeah?
Yeah, he's the guy who was at Villa until recently. I was watching the Liverpool game was on in Ireland, so I was watching that on Saturday, and I didn't have Salah, so I was like, oh my god, I shouldn't be watching this. And I saw it was Moreno, and I thought this is going to be horrendous. And Moreno did well.
He did do well. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he really did. Liverpool had an off day, but still, you have to, you have to play well to get that win. So if Aina and Moreno are getting their starts, I think I'll probably get one on the wild card for sure. And then I think Trent will stay in for everyone. I'm happy with Paro. Maybe the wise play is to get two Arsenal defensive assets, Raya and someone else.
Yeah, starting to look that way, isn't it? Maybe not for game week
It,
5. Yeah.
no, not for game week 5. But like, what surprises me on the Arsenal defense is like, if you forget the summer, we all decided about um 7, 8 weeks ago that we all had to have two Arsenal defensive assets because they were clearly the best defense. And then roll on to game week 1, and people have one or no defenders. I find that very hard to rationalize
No
how
kidding.
how people don't have Arsenal defense, and I
Yeah,
think it's going to change. Everyone's going to have Havertz or a second Arsenal defender soon.
very soon. Yeah, interesting. And maybe it'll just take getting through that Etihad fixture before that starts to manifest in
Yeah.
FPL. All right, mate, cool. Let's take a look then. So we've got expected goals, attempted assists, shots in the box, and expected FPL points. Obviously, only 4 game weeks already, Mark, but is anyone standing out here that we haven't talked around yet that you want to devote some time to? I guess Ollie Watkins would be a name that we haven't spent any time on. He returned well in game week
Yeah.
4. What do you think about him as an option, bearing in mind the Duran situation there as well? What's your read on Ollie Watkins?
Yeah, I there's been doubts about him that maybe he's not been fit at the start of the season, but notwithstanding that, he's played limited minutes and he's got really big chances in all the games.
Yeah.
Like, he could be a long, long way ahead of where he is now in terms of points if he was just doing some fairly fundamental finishing correctly. I think, Corey from the Elite 11 has had him since the start, and I reckon he kind of feels he's been a bit unlucky with that. If I had a set, I could sell Haaland for Watkins this week, and maybe upgrade Jota to Salah or something like that. And I'll consider it, late into the week. If I don't get forced to move early on prices, I'll definitely continue to consider taking Haaland out for Watkins.
Wow, love it.
He's come off injured tonight. Well, no, he hasn't come off injured. He's come off and got bandaged. He's got an ice pack on his ankle. And going back to your question where you mentioned Duran, I think just to keep the peace, Emery has to give Duran a start. Like, he just can't keep saying to this guy, "No, you're not starting." It just doesn't work, in a team environment. He's got to give him a start soon.
And you think that will come in game week 5? Potentially, bearing in mind that they played their Champions League game 1 3-0, didn't they, this evening? But as you mentioned, Watkins came off after an hour, didn't he? So I think that could disappoint new owners.
I think if Watkins isn't 100%, I think if he's not 100%, there's no reason not to play Duran.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
So, I think Watkins has done well. I think he's a good pick. It's if you have the funds to do it. And as people are saying repeatedly, like, the good thing here is the pricing is difficult this season.
So better, right? Makes the game better, doesn't it? Definitely. Yeah,
no, this has been a very varied season. I think we see a lot of variation, and it's good.
Yeah. Okay. A name I also wanted to get your thoughts on here. I know he's not in your team, Mark, but Luis Diaz was flavour of the month for a little bit there, wasn't he? And then disappointing game against Forest there. Is he in the same Diego Jota type camp and actually could be a good pick? There'll always be question marks over minutes and returns as a consequence of that. And it's a hold if you have him, but not really a buy if you don't.
Yeah, I think it depends on going forward from here. I think it depends on how you like to spend your 145 on a Saturday. If you worry about team sheets, then maybe Jota and Diaz aren't for you. He'll have good days, he'll have bad days. Same with Jota. And if you worry about not getting starts, you should stay away from the two of them. But I think we've become conditioned to expect the rotation in the Liverpool front line, but we don't know how Slot thinks about this. He doesn't. When managers are in a job a long time, they've got a bit more confidence to rotate. They know things a bit better. Slot's under pressure now, so is he really going to start chancing players that he doesn't think are the best to be in the team? Like, is he just going to put in Darwin or Gakpo just because they're there? I'm not so sure, especially if he comes under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, agree. Final question for me, mate. You mentioned him briefly, Semenyo, earlier, as a budget-friendly option there in terms of Rodgers, Smith Rowe, and Semenyo. You got an opinion as to which one represents the best value for money right now? And if you were to wildcard, would one or more of those guys be in the team? What do you think of the budget enabling midfield options there? And
The issue, the issue with Semenyo is his fixtures. So he's got Liverpool now, got two nice ones, but then he has Arsenal, Villa, City. And I couldn't be having that. It's too tough.
yeah,
Someone there who, and I was nobody was looking at until the weekend was is McNeil.
yeah, I see
Um,
him there, attempted assists poking out. Yeah,
and their fixtures are fantastic coming up. But again, he's not really one of my types of signings.
no.
But the 5.5 bracket is just, I think you get someone there. I've got Smith Rowe right now, but I think you keep that place on a wild card, and maybe you get Semenyo. Maybe you get Minte. They're all good options. Like, and it'll be the rub of the green whether you catch their hauls or not at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, we even snuck Thomas Souček in. Nice to get a tokenistic West Ham mention in all of my videos at some point, if I can manage to shoehorn one in.
There's no Danny Ings here, is there?
Danny Ings misses out because of the minutes restriction I was forced to put on by my employers, but there you go. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd be in the conversation. Mark, well done, mate. Lovely start to the season. Wildcard still in hand, 2 free transfers, all looking rosy. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Not really. I mean, I think I'm gonna. Last week, I feel I took a fair bit of risk not having Salah. When I look in the leagues around me and the ones there are a lot of managers who I rate, they all went to Salah, and I just thought I'd put it off a week, and I feel like I benefited from taking that risk, and I think taking that on again with Salah this week is just a step too far, and I have a chance here to kind of just lower my risk, keep a good rank, wild card from a position of power. So that's where my head is at right now. I've taken my risk, I've benefited from it, and now it's time to maybe just cash in my chips.
Like it. Well, we're going to see how that's going to play out, mate, over the next few game weeks. We'll get you on soon. It sounds like it will be shortly after you've wildcarded if things go to plan, but I look forward to seeing how things go in Game Week 5 and beyond, Mark. And another congratulations on a great start to the season. Thanks for joining us, guys. Do please smash a like on the video. Thanks. Leave a comment down below if you've got any questions for Mark. I'm sure he can get back to you in the week, and I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 5, and I'll be back with you all next week. Take care. Bye bye.